Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Sports Betting in Europe webinar, sharing experiences for helping B2C gaming operators in Latin. I'm Lucas Lebleu. I'm the sales director for Skywin Group. And this afternoon, we have with me Hervé Schlosser, founder and CEO of Sport & Co. We have Andreas Neubauer, founder and CEO of Moyo, and also Dan Stone, who's the head of B2B marketing at Pronet Gaming. Welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hello.
Hi all, good to be here.
Hello, nice to meet you.
All right, so let's get into the matter. I will start first with Andreas with the first questions, and then we will pass the ball to Dan and then to Hervé. Andreas, what's the current landscape of betting segment in Europe after last year growth on gaming in general?
Yeah, that's a big question, right? Because we all know what was going on in the world with this pandemic stuff and all these kind of things. What we saw, is definitely a big shift, right, into the online business. So we as a company in Ohio, we have been always very focused on the land-based business as a content provider, software development and content provider for the industry. Through not only in Europe, through many countries around the world, and we were seeing, after the pandemic hits, the market or the industry, we saw a very big shift into the online business. And this is not easy done, because if you are not, used to operate online as a land-based operator, you need to have, good partners on your side helping you doing this kind of shift. Anyway, regardless of online or land-based in Europe, the total revenue which was done right in the European market, was decreasing massively, right? And now a lot of operators trying to fill the gap, right? Looking to 2021 and further on, reaching their goals by a clear focus on going into the online business.
But of course, there was a massive decline, let's say, mostly on sports, right? Then there was some pickup in the casino vertical, let's say, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, the lack of events, in Europe, football or soccer, however you want to call it, is very, very big. So it's bigger than the gaming business. So therefore, the industry, was trying to shift to the esports. Some supplier came up with good esports solution, and that's definitely, I would say, a trend, which will follow on to the next years. We will see how the Panthers, will react on that. What we can say is, because we offer esports as well, beside pre-match and live football, is there was a good increase in terms of revenue we made with esports as well. And we believe this will continue, during the next years. Because of the age of our Panthers, right, will change, right? They are used to place bets on esports as well and other games. I mean, beside that, in Europe, it's not in each country legal, right? Operating RNG-based games like the virtual football stuff and all these things which are growing massively. But we see a trend, right, going in that direction, that the regulators in each country, right, are able to include that in a sports betting license as well. So it's very exciting, and you need to be prepared for that as an operator, definitely.
How about you, Dan? How did last year go with, in regards to your company, and how did you see the growth in the online?
Yeah, very similar to Andreas. I mean, I'd echo his comments there, and I'd say it's I put it quite simply. It's a simple supply and demand issue in my mind. I mean, it's quite clear that a lot of things have changed in the last 12 months. No one saw this coming, but it's happened, and it's the people who've been able to adapt quickest who've done better in this whole scenario. We're talking about less historical sports betting, but Andreas touched on the esports and virtuals, of course, and they've been booming. And I think simply because of the necessity. It's not necessarily, I don't think, that more people would have done that otherwise, but it's just encouraged them to think about, well, what else is there? If there are no sporting events or much less to look at and to interact with and engage with, then what else can I look for? So yes, we've seen exactly the same thing. A lot more people driven to the virtuals, the esports, and also the casino products. A lot more people being not pushed, but they're being encouraged. They're finding out for themselves. They're exploring. So any operator who has the kind of full set has done quite well. Those focusing just on sports betting, they've done well to diversify. But those who have a casino, slots, social, that kind of element as well, have done particularly well. And there are some marked differences as well. For example, like your slots have done better than, say, your roulette, for example, just on average, I'm talking.
More like entertainment, a new kind of entertainment for those that were more used to sports betting, looking for a different kind of betting.
Exactly,
let's say.
Exactly. And I think I'd agree with Andreas. I think the future's quite bright here, because there's two schools of thought. One would be that because this has been mostly driven by necessity, once everything's back to normal, there's probably not going to be a completely normal, but there'll be some form of it. Once that is here, be it 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, maybe people will start reverting back to their usual norms and their usual behavior. I'm not a big believer in that. I think once you find something new and exciting that you like, then you'll keep doing that. Maybe not as much as you did when you didn't have the other options, but I think that will certainly be the truth in this case.
I agree with you. Ultimately, it will be a matter of how you distribute your budget for entertainment or sports betting or betting in general among the different products that you have discovered now, right?
Exactly.
How about you, Hervé, at Sport & Co? What can you comment on this?
Well, Luke, what I would say is that iGaming has taken advantage of the crisis like many other online businesses. I mean, we all know the successes of Zoom we are utilizing today, or Netflix, or all these kind of online industries. And I do agree with Dan that the way people have been behaving during the crisis will not change. I mean, this shift from retail to online is a massive change, and it will not come back. So what we really saw is at Sport & Co an increase of 40% of the online active players from December 2019 till December 2020. So that and this was there was a really an acceleration of the transformation from retail to online, and of course the months between March and May have been pretty difficult for sports betting, but casino and poker have really increased dramatically in this period, and now things are getting back to more balanced things, with sports betting around 40%, casino around 40%, and the rest with poker, bingo, and everything. And it's true that I think that the e-sport is a key thing for the future. It has been also it has taken advantage from the crisis because there were almost no betting offer at that time. But it's true also that it's very appealing for young punters, and I mean 70% of the online punters are aged between 20 and 35. So we should really look at what the youngest generation are looking at, and if we look at the successes of platforms like Twitch and everything, it should give us a good idea for the trends of the future.
Actually, talking about trends, new technologies, new social media, let's say different tools or different companies, like you mentioned, like Twitch. How about the different markets or markets that have been probably in the radar of a lot of us, let's say, from a B2B perspective, but also from the operator's perspective. We know that LATAM, it's quite big in terms of number in of casinos, of land-based casinos in general. And I know personally that there've been a massive increase of number of contacts to the different platform providers, isn't it? Around the world. So I will take again the round on the same order. So back to Andreas now. What possibilities does the Latin American market offers, and how is your company helping or going to help the local operators to diversify their betting portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Latin America, right? So that's such a huge country, right? In total, South America. So I think you need to be really looking into each country, each market, right? What the demands is. We spoke about, you mentioned it already, Luke. So there's Brasilia, Argentina, Colombia, maybe Peru, and you need to have a deep look how these markets are regulated, right? And asking the question, are they regulated already? So we are a big believer in that, right? In regulated market, because this helps everybody, right? As a supplier, from the supplier point of view, the operator, and of course the government. So therefore, you need to have a look, right? What's going on? We as a content provider, software development, a content provider, we are trying, having always, once we are starting with a new operator, having a close look into the operation of this operator, right? And asking questions, and try to understand if the operator understands the market where he is operating in, and figuring out, which products they are operating. And now, after this pandemic stuff, of course, which channel of distribution, right, and cash handling they are providing.
And how could you help those operators in LATAM, for example?
Pardon, sorry?
From your own experience, how could you contribute? Could you help those operators in LATAM?
Yeah, with the different solution we are offering, right? So we are coming from the land-based business, right? So we operate in Austria, a sports-based chain, right? We know what the demand in Austria demands may be different in Colombia, right, or in Brasilia. So So what we believe, we know, okay, everything goes online, right? A lot of people are, shifting to the online business. What we did, specifically, we have developed what we call the semi-online solution, right? Which helps the operator shifting from the land-based business to the online business. So in a nutshell, right, the products we are offering are available on is a web solution, including a mobile solution, but the cash handling goes through a cashier or a self-service terminal. So there are no payment gateways necessary, as it is, used on an online website or portal. So that's the first step, right? Going from a retail business, shop business, betting shop business into the online world. You are able to use the semi-online solution we have developed, during the last years, reaching people outside your betting shop. And that's a very big thing. Here in Europe, self-service terminals are very, very popular in the UK as well, right? In Germany and Austria and all the other countries. This is something, we offer and try step by step, helping them, working not only in the retail environment, going one step further on into the online business as well.
Thank you. How about you, Dan? Have you seen also, or are you prepared to grow in LATAM? How have you seen that possibility from Pronet's perspective?
Good question. Prepared? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, from Pronet, I don't want to talk too much about Pronet specifically, and
from your
I don't think anyone wants a sales pitch.
Yeah, of course.
But but to be honest, we're already there. Across Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Peru. Our bread and butter is emerging markets. Okay, there's plenty out of regulated markets, everything. And of course, that definitely serves a purpose. But what our expertise is emerging markets. So we're there. We have been for a while. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. I mean, to be completely honest, it's interesting around the world at the minute, not just LATAM. And I think, I said earlier, no one saw this coming, this COVID situation, which has just had such a fundamental impact. But there's plenty of lessons there. And in fact, before this, any business should really have a contingency plan and the flexibility to adapt. And that's one of our strengths. Just a little kind of sales nugget out there, but it's true. We believe in. I think I would agree with Andres here in the sense that there's a lot of talk about LATAM, and I think the danger is that and this is similar to Africa as well, to work across the two. And Africa is seen as an interesting emerging region, something people want to get into more, like with LATAM. But it's not that simple. I think that's the danger of looking at these as just individual regions.
Yes, I mean, me coming a lot from a Latin background myself. I think the main difference is that in LATAM you will have, or you have, a deeper mobile reach, and technology-wise, the countries are more developed than actually you will think if you're not familiar with LATAM in the first hand, right? So I 100%. Think this is...
I mean, if you talk about mobile, which is a really key point, I'm glad you brought it up, because let's compare. We're not talking about Africa now, but just for sake of comparison, the infrastructure there is the key challenge, right?
Yes, exactly why I brought this up. Exactly.
I mean, you're talking about, the millennials and the younger generation, and the growth of esports, and they want HD content. Well, it's with all the will in the world, it's not going to work at the moment in Africa. It's not to say it won't in 5-10 years, but at the moment, that's not where you want to go. With LATAM, there is, and again, I hate to use the generic term for the region, but it's much better there. A lot more development. I mean, I think there's an e-consultancy report only last week, actually, which said by 2025, 80% of all mobile usage will be via smartphones. So that tells you something. I can't say that for other regions, but for LATAM, the scope is definitely there. I mean, it's here now. Okay, people are using their mobiles more and more, not just because of COVID, even.
No, so I think it's a bit like sometimes even almost 1.5 in average mobiles per person or something like that, right? In certain
crazy.
Countries.
Yeah, exactly. So that is really important for operators and all of us here, because that shapes the offer. That shapes how you approach things. The use of and the UX by mobile is very different to desktop. It's very different to a terminal. So we like to factor all that in. Our real pillars, I guess, are customization and localization, right? So we don't see LATAM as LATAM. We see it as Andres pointed out, collection of individual countries with
correct,
all very different demands, very different needs. You know, you might have more interest in bonuses in one country versus jackpots in another, for example, or free offers when it comes to sports betting, that kind of thing, or bet builders, which we do. But I think the key thing really is if you keep that in mind, and if you work with the right people, with local agents as well, you need boots on the ground for this, remember. Exactly. It's not just a case of being open-minded and, you know, really...
It's about understanding that also every country has a different culture.
Completely. And working with local partners as well. And I think you have to go further than that. I don't think it's good enough, really, to understand the different intricacies of each country in the region. I think you have to work hard because... one other thing I think we'd all agree with is that culturally it's a lot more, how do I say it, relationship based. If you have the right partners in place, then you stand a much better chance. In somewhere like Europe, North America, that's not necessarily that important. It's more about like business is business.
Yes, I'm not going to name the mobile manufacturer that came with the slogan of people connecting people, right? Back in the days. So that's more or less how LATAM works. This is what you have to think about. Hervé, exactly. How about you? You ended up the last question actually talking about the growth of casino and poker and in LATAM. These two products are actually very, very big, right? Not only because of the almost every single country is exposed to land-based casinos, with one exception probably, and also poker was massive and is still massive in countries such as Brazil, right? But across the whole region of Central America, Mexico, South America, these products are quite big. So how could you, from your perspective, help the operators in LATAM?
Well, I would say two things. The first thing is, we are in quite a paradoxical moment where the world is getting bigger, the regulated world is getting bigger, but the tool we are using is getting always smaller, as we explained, and therefore you need. And in the past years, I mean, all in the industry has been about providing more and more offer, more and more bets, more and more live events, more and more casino games. And as Dan was saying before, it's all about now giving the right thing to the people so that they can access to it quickly. So UX, machine learning, and AI is very important. I think that what makes us, so we have a platform called Alira, and basically what makes it a bit specific is that our clients can choose whatever game provider they want to add and connect to our platform. And we think this is interesting because basically the success in every country will be made of some casino providers that are internationally distributed with top, well-recognized products, but also some local offerings that you need to add in order to have a Colombian taste in your Colombian product, to have a Peruvian taste in your Peruvian offer, and that's how it goes. And if you, and therefore, by being able to offer and to combine every provider you want to add to your casino offer, this is really something that is interesting for a client to offer this flexibility for their growth.
So actually, I'm going to stay with you then for the next one, which is actually you gave me the good hint there for the strategy. So Hervé, I will stay with you in terms of strategy, because you are already kind of discussing this, that you will recommend for an operator to have an effective proposal from transferring, let's say, land-based to online. You were touching a bit there on the localization, let's say, of the product, right? So if you can expand a bit more on that.
Yes. Well, basically, for example, I would speak about it for two kind of products. First, the sports book, and then the casino games. Well, for the sports book, it's very important to adapt the offer to the local habits of the players, both in terms of sports competitions and way to behave on your mobile. Okay, because you can see that the usage are very different from one country to another, and also it's important to have a very specific trading policy for each of our clients in order to use the odd as a marketing tool for each of them. So really, to have a sports betting offer, which is not a sports betting offer, but your sports betting offer, is really something that is tailored to your market, but also to your marketing tools and targets. And therefore, we would not offer the same kind of layout for a land-based casino group turning to mobile than for an international gaming operator entering into Peru. That's the first thing. And the second thing about casino games is that, for example, for slot machines, it's very interesting to be able to use local icons or to use brands added to the slot machines or whatever video games with local brands in order to really to really have the players feel passionate and really feel that the offer is really the local gaming offer.
And in terms of strategy, if you've been discussing probably with different land-based operators, are you finding it hard sometimes? Personally, I think there's always this hardest part for a traditional land-based operator when they want to migrate, let's say, to online or go online. They're a bit harder to go through or to get through the idea of the whole bonusing, the free spins, and the different tools that you can use online that they're not available, of course, on the land-based, right? So that message sometimes is hard to get across, right?
Yeah, it's totally true. And in a land-based casino, one of the most important person for the marketing and the person in charge of the food and beverage, and that gives you a hint of how the business is going. And it's true, it's a key issue in order to attract people. And we know that when it goes to online, I mean affiliation. So be working with other third-party companies is also something really key, and providing also bonuses, free betting is a key element. And it's true that what we see is that for the land-based casino, we really need to offer some marketing consultancy and marketing advices, and that's what we offer. We have a specificity is that we have some B2C online B2C operations in Spain and in France. But Spain is the most interesting thing for LATAM because we have a lot of teams both in B2B and B2C speaking Spanish. Mm-hmm. And therefore we are able to offer the full-fledged, not only for product compliance and so on, but also for the B2C operations. And after that, it's true that, well, it depends from one company to another. Some are quite open to this kind of discussion, and it's the digital shift that every big company has to go through. This is true for Exxon as an oil and gas company, but this is also true for all the big land-based companies, and it's a big challenge for all of them.
How about you, Dan? I'm going the other way now. So,
yeah, I'd agree with that. As I mentioned before, we believe heavily. I can't say it's enough in localization. So using local agents, local partners on the ground. And from that, we've built up a lot of knowledge on what works best in each region, each country, should I say. So when an operator does say, look, well, I want to look at another country now, or an online platform, because we do platform, casino, sportsbook, and retail as well. Maybe they want an omni-channel solution, for example, and we can help there. It's really about working with them. So not necessarily directing them, but working with them to find out what are their goals, what do they want to get out of this, what's the main aim, and then I guess liaising with them in a consultative role. We have dedicated people to do that, to figure out, right, well, okay, how do we put all this together that's going to work best for them and is going to keep that adaptability and flexibility to work in future as well, when not if, but when something changes. That could be an event like we've seen, or it could be just literally shifts in demand, right? One of the interesting points that was covered was about localization and in terms of the types of games and stuff, right? That's a tricky one, because I've read a lot about and heard a lot discussed about well, I hate to use the term tropicalization. We're not a big believer in that here.
But,
no, exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's localization, right? It's how we present the product to the different countries, to different languages, because we don't have to forget that Brazil speaks Portuguese, but it's not the Portuguese from Portugal.
Exactly,
the same as Spanish. Like in the different countries are not the same Spanish accent or way of speaking as it will be in Spain. So you have to have local people, it's about that.
We're very conscious of that. And even one of our customers actually, I won't shame her now, but a lady from Habanero, their games are part of our portfolio, as are many others. She made a very good point actually. It was I think they were just doing some back-end research, and what came out was that one of the games that they specifically made for the Italian market, to the point where it was around an Italian traditional event. Everything about it was targeted for Italy, right? Anyway, so they try it out across LATAM with their customers there, via platform providers like ourselves. Absolutely flew through the roof. And this is a game that was only ever really made with Italy in mind. So I think that's a key learning for us and for our customers, is that you can't just assume that you can tropicalize something and it will work. It's not like that. It's whatever the customer wants, right? That's where we come in. It's delivering whatever your customers want.
The same goes for sports betting, and I'm going to pass the ball to Andreas, right? Because in terms of sports, and people actually, different companies actually ask me because of the background I've got. They try to transfer the European operation to LATAM in terms of what kind of sports to offer and markets to offer. But as I tell them, you have to go local. You have to offer your local league, the local football league. They also in LATAM, there's a lot of exposure to US sports, right?
Yeah.
So you can use that as well because of the time frames and the rest. Let's say something basketball, like an event that passed just recently, the Super Bowl, right? It's followed across the world, of course, but with the time, it's easy to follow in LATAM. It's harder to follow probably Champions League. Due to time difference, people are at work normally.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's a very good point, because these are kind of things which very easily get lost in the ether. When you're planning or strategizing things, you easily forget things like this, which might sound quite minor in the pre-planning stages, but actually have a huge impact when it comes down to it. So it's all that's kind of our bread and butter. So,
what's your opinion on that, Andres?
Yeah, I mean, Herv and Dan pointed out brilliantly, right? So that's perfect. So I 100% agree with that. I mean, you know, this is not only for Latin America. I think it's for every market you want to enter. Then mentioned Africa, right? We made the same experience. It's really up to the region where you want to go in, you know, and bring your offer to the clients, to the punters. At the end of the day, right? If you're asking the question, who is paying your bills, right? That's the punters, and you should really have a deep look into that, right? What the demand is, what they're looking for to get, and as an operator, you know, back to the initial question, you know, shift from land-based to online business. I think you need to be prepared as an operator, learning a lot new stuff, right? And you know, keep your eyes open, your mind open, you know, and learn what's coming along from the guys who already are experienced, right, with this business. And of course, you need to be prepared. You know, you need to have a good budget for that, right? Because if you enter the online business, you know, you need to spend, I would say, quite a good amount of money into the marketing, SEO, right? All these kind of stuff, which is maybe only in a different way needed if you operate a land-based business. So that's definitely a new experience as well. I mean, we see a trend, you know, that an online operator, you know, you have a land-based operator, right? And he's trying to offer a lot of different games, right? Covering as much as possible new games for their punters itself in the betting shop. You know, the problem with that is, you know, you have a limited space, right? You can't have 100 TVs, you know, offering everything. So that's a limited space. In the online business is a bit different, right? Right. Once you start, you know, you start the online business itself, you can add whatever you want, right? And there's almost limitless, right, what you add on games and products there. So you should keep in mind, right, having a good back office, you know, looking, you know, what the punters are placing bets on, all the statistics and stuff like that, and analyze that, right, in the best way, and then choose, you know, where you put your money in, right? Which game are you promoting? If it's sports betting, whatever you're offering, right? That's definitely. But in a nutshell, right, everything was said by Herv and Dan, so 100% agree with that. Mm-hmm. Oh, we can't hear you, Luke.
I think we're on mute. The classic line.
The classic one, yes. One of the last questions before we move probably to some of the audience questions, and I think it's very important. It was touched on by actually all of us. It's how important is the regulation in the different Latin American countries for you guys, you know, obviously for your companies, but for you guys, in your opinion. As we know, we have been seen in the news about the Brazilian regulation coming up. Chile now is lining up as well, with the difference that I always say that Chile, when they want to do something, they really do it fast. So probably Chile will happen first, in my opinion, at least. So how important is to normalize, to regulate gaming in the different countries? It can apply to any country in the world, really, to have full access of marketing channels and payment methods. As we know, and Andreas was just touching actually a point there on the marketing spend. So being regulated just opens doors to the channels and also to the payment methods. And I will go back to them now. Then we go to Hervé and then to Andreas.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm going to be quite biased here because obviously our bread and butter is the emerging markets, regulated, near regulated, for example. I think it's a tricky one. I don't think it's a simple answer, actually. I think the propensity might be to say, well, of course, you know, it's of utmost importance. I'm not so sure. I think it's not as important to get regulation in as a tick box as to get that regulation structured properly for that region so that it works. Because obviously that's the only reason, apart from obviously revenue generation via taxation, is player protection. You need to get that right. And I think there's a fear that is somewhat unfounded, is my personal opinion, about near regulated markets. That yes, there is inherent differences there and risks perceived, but there are risks in other more established markets as well. I mean, think about comparisons between authorization models versus concessions. There are very different risks there. So I guess the short answer from me would be not to focus on regulation as a tick box, really. It's more about all the other processes behind it, the reasoning behind it. I mean, we're very hot on that kind of thing, player protection, fraud detection tools, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I guess that also we have to look at regulation versus over-regulating a market. Not to say, I'm not going to say names of countries, but you're based in one of those that it's been kind of over-regulating lately, and the effect is actually the opposite, right? Where licensees actually surrender their license and go because they cannot just
right, exactly. So we're seeing this at the moment. So there is danger of where over-regulation pushes operators out of the market.
Which then increases the black market, let's say.
There you go. Yes, exactly. So it's a fine balance. I don't think it's a tick box.
All right. Hervé, your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Luc. I would say that, for us, the regulation point is essential because we're only working in B2B in regulated countries. So we are looking at with the deepest interest all the changes that are coming in the different Latin American countries. We have already signed agreements in Colombia and in some Argentinian states. I think that what you said about the balance is, of course, a very important matter. I would also say that what is important is to make it, if possible, a federal regulation, because there are a lot of countries in Latam, and I think of the two giants that are federal states with different states, and what is going on in Argentina is not making the business and the life easy.
Making reference to our friends from G&MNews, isn't it? Where they're regulated by province and then with the city of Buenos Aires.
Exactly. And let's see what comes out in Brazil, because this is important. It's also important to ensure that they will regulate every type of game. I mean, sports betting, but also casino and poker, so that they in order to reduce the black market and have all the legal offer come to the regulated one, and of course make it make the business sustainable by defining a good balance level of tax. So it's really a key issue, and we're really happy to see that, like in every other part of the world, Latin America is getting regulated, and it might take some years in Brazil, some months in Chile, but it's moving on, like in North America, like in Canada, like in Holland, like in Germany. There may be some bad regulations for some countries for some years, but things will change. And this is really a very important shift for all our industry to see this happening all over the world.
I agree. How about you, Andreas? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we believe in regulated market in general, but as Dan was saying, right, it's a very difficult, and Herv mentioned it as well, they are very difficult, you know, negotiation, I would say. So what I would recommend for the operators, I'm not sure how it looks like in Brazil or Argentina, you know, having a kind of association, right? So, you know, having a strong lobby, right, when it comes up to the regulation, you know, and having a word, when the law, you know, and all these regulations are coming in. What we faced, you know, for example, in Austria, right, when it comes, we have, you know, everybody in each country, right, has one pot, right, where the money is in, you know, and sometimes, you know, too many people wants to take a piece of the cake out of it, right? And so this needs to be balanced, right? So the money you earn as an operator, the tech stuff and all this kind of thing. And I would wish, you know, that the operators, right, who are doing the jobs, you know, have a stronger word, right, when it comes up to these kind of regulations, because they know what's going on the market. You know, they can bring their experience into the regulation, right? Because most of the time, the regulators don't know that much good the market. So it would be good if you have a strong organization, association, right, which is representing the operators in these particular regions or countries.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. We have a couple of minutes left, so I'm gonna take a couple of the questions I have from the audience. I'm gonna just pass to one person to comment at a time, so we wrap up on time as well. I have a question then probably for Hervé. They ask us how important is to market or sell your sports betting offering in LATAM. I think you've touched bases already on that. But if you have to probably put into the balance between the main products, let's say sports betting, casino, and poker, what will you say? How you will market those?
Well, I would say that for me, sports betting and casino are essential. That's definitely how I would present things, and they are very complementary for the players, and I think that's really important to make it happen. Poker is always a matter of finding the good network that will allow your players to have a decent offer and attractive offer. So poker might be a bit more tricky, and you might enter poker in a second phase once you see what are the networks that are doing well in your regulation in your country, and that's basically it. But for sure, these are the two verticals that will generate 80 to 90% of the business, and I think it's essential to have them in your betting offer.
Thank you. Dan, I'm sorry, but I have a boring one for you probably. No, I'm kidding. It's actually how to, I think it's an important one actually, is which are the best pieces of advice to properly manage a responsible gaming policy with your customers from a betting platform perspective?
It is dry. Thanks. I mean, again, you can talk about localization to some degree, but really, when it comes to something like responsible gaming, I think we'd all agree that is one thing which would transcend all markets, all territories. Okay, because that's pretty key, particularly when it comes with us. We work quite hard with our local partners and ourselves and our development team to make sure that we can offer something which works across everything for everyone, right? If it doesn't make sense for an operator to get the money in and think secondly about player protection, because you're not looking after your players, you're not looking after your customers. When you look after your customers in any business, not just gambling, gaming and sports betting, casino, lottery, or whatever, you have to look after them, and then they'll look after your business effectively. I know it's a bit cliche, a bit cheesy, but it's true. That's why
it's typical of look at them as human beings, not numbers, right?
Completely, yeah. And look, I mean, you think about competition. Competition's going to go through the roof. Meaning, Colombia, you could argue that it's already quite saturated. So you don't want it to be too easy for someone to make the decision. Well, actually, I don't think they're looking after my best interests. I'm going to move to another operator.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, but I have to leave the last one for Andreas now, and I won't be able to share the rest. But I think that, Andreas, you made I think it was you actually that spoke more about it. You mentioned also esports, virtual sports, and the youngest generations. I think we all discussed that, but what do you envision the future of those basically esports, virtual sports? How do you see that in the future, Andreas?
Yeah, will definitely have a big impact into the entire sports betting gaming portfolio for every operator. We can see that right now on our current markets where we are operating. These kind of products are asked more and more often, and not only when it comes up to virtuals and Herf, and then mentioned that already. A customization is very, very necessary, right? So if you're offering a football league, a virtual football league, this needs to be, you need to have the leagues from the country where you're looking forward to operate that, right? So customization is very, very important. And esports is really depending on what is currently popular in these each markets, but definitely beside the sports betting itself, traditional sports betting, esports and virtuals becoming definitely a big thing, and you need to have a look on it as an operator.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I've got a couple of questions that will be left unanswered. But we have some important ones, like how important are affiliates in LATAM and brand ambassadors. I think we can all agree that, as in any really in any market, affiliates do play a big role, and brand ambassador to just get basically your brand closer to the player. There's some brand recognition there, but we have to be very careful, not only in iGaming but in general. It doesn't mean that because you have a brand ambassador, it means that it's an endorsement from that person, right? Ultimately, we have to remember that this is a marketing activity, and and hopefully there won't be any damage to the image also of the brand ambassador, and everything will go well for them. So I have to thank you all, Andreas, Dan, Hervé. Thank you to G&MNews as well for having us. And I'll let you say bye to individually.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
See you next time.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.